Hi, welcome back. Today we're going to cover how to make this classic chapstick in Solidworks. So we're going to just make a simplified version of this chapstick. I'm not going to make the internal components that cause the chapstick to go up and down when you twist the bottom wheel. But what's important to remember is that there's a cap that can come off, and there's this wheel at the bottom that can spin. And in my chapstick, I don't know if you can see it, but there's kind of an indentation here in the bottom, and there's like a little ridged pattern all around the edge of this scroll wheel. So those are some things that we'll pay attention to as we start modeling. So I'm going to start by creating a new part file. And to get started, I'm also going to save my file, and I will save it as a name that I'm going to remember later. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on these planes and click the eyeball icon to show the planes so that I can see them here in my interface. So what I'm going to do next is create some reference planes to help me create this chapstick. So as I said before, let me show you really quickly. Where I'm going to create planes at 3 spots. So the first spot is I'm going to create a plane that's at the height of this little scroll wheel. Then I'm going to create a plane here at the top of kind of the body of the chapstick. And then last, I'm going to create a plane at the very top of the cap height. And these planes will just kind of help me guide the model and help me avoid remeasuring things or trying to remember dimensions that I've already used earlier. So the first plane will be the scroll wheel height plane. And remember, I can click here on reference geometry and plane. So since I had recently clicked on the right plane is selected as the first reference, but that's not what I want. So I'm going to click here in the first reference box, and now I'm in like the mode to select something else to go here in this box. I'm going to click the top plane instead. So now the top plane is my first reference. D1 is set at 0.1 inches, but I want that to be 0.125 because that's what I measured with my caliper as the kind of thickness or height of that scroll wheel. And now you can check and make sure that your plane is going above this top plane, but if it's going the wrong direction, you can check this box to flip which direction it's going. So we want it above the top plane, and I'm going to click the check mark to finish creating that plane. I'm also going to rename the plane so I don't forget. This one is going to be called scroll wheel height. Now I want to make another plane. I'll click reference geometry plane again. It's already selecting scroll wheel height as the first reference. If yours is not, you know what to do. Click here and then choose what you want. Now the distance, we need to change that. This one is going to be 1.8 inches because that's the height of the main body of the chapstick. And this one, I'm going to rename it also by clicking on it. This one's going to be called body height. Now I need one more plane. This one is referencing off of body height, which is perfect. And this one's going to be 0.6 inches up. And this one will be called cap height. Now I'm just going to press Control S or whatever other shortcut you use to save. So now we're going to begin by making the main body of the chapstick. So we know that the body is going to stretch from here, the scroll wheel height, to this plane here, the body height. And we're going to sketch on the right plane, and we will sketch a profile just right here on kind of the right half of what we're seeing as the right plane, and we will use that profile to revolve around to create our chapstick. So to create a sketch on the right plane, I've already done it. I clicked, and now you can see I'm inside the sketch because we have the exit sketch button in the top left, and over here we've also got this exit sketch symbol or cancel sketch symbol as well. So to make our sketch, let's start with the corner rectangle. So our corner rectangle needs to stretch basically from this plane down to this plane, and it needs to intersect with this plane. So you know whenever I'm hovering over something and it's orange, that means I'm going to be coincident with it. And you can see the little yellow box pop up with the coincidence symbol or the intersection symbol. I'm actually going to aim for this corner here, and hopefully I grab both of those planes, and then down here I will end right about here. So you can see here we got two coincident logos, one for that plane and one for this one. So that's perfect. I'm going to right click and get the select to get out of that rectangle. And let's add a dimension now. So I'm going to use the Smart Dimension tool. And down here, I'm going to select that bottom line. And the dimension I want this to be is 0.3 inches. So I'm going to click again to get out of the Smart Dimension tool. I don't need to dimension this line because it's already determined by attaching to both of these planes. And we already put a measured dimension to distance those planes from one another. So that's kind of giving us a shortcut now that we don't have to add that dimension. I'm going to get this rectangle again, and now I'm going to add a rectangle, just clicking kind of midway here, but I do want to attach it down here on this line. Then I'm going to right click and get the select. Now I'm going to get the scissors, the trim entities, and what I want to do is trim off this line, basically the bottom of this smaller rectangle that I added here, because right now I'm duplicating it. Oh, you could see it just then, right? You can see it in kind of this pinkish color. So we don't want a line right there because we want these all to just outline one big shape. So I'm going to click here, holding down the mouse, drag across that line. And we saw something happen because all these relation icons changed. Okay. Now I'm going to add one more rectangle right here. This is going to help us make this little ridge that kind of keeps the cap on the chapstick. So I'm clicking on that line to start it, and then I'll click out here. And now I will right click and get select. And then I'm going to do the same thing again, using the scissors, click and drag across this line to get rid of it. I'm going to click the scissors again to get out of that. Okay, so now I have all the pieces of my sketch that I need, but I need to add a lot more dimensions in order to make this chapstick dimensionally accurate. So the first dimension I'm going to add, I'm going to get the Smart Dimension tool. I'm going to click on this line, drag it over here, and that one should be 0.35. So what could have happened is this could get all crazy because of that dimension. So if you want to drag this down to kind of keep it somewhere more reasonable, you can do that. But we'll get all that defined through dimensions so that it's not just random. Let's add this dimension up here. This one's going to be 0.03. And let's add this dimension here. This one's going to be 0.01, so this notch is really tiny. Then let's add this dimension here for how kind of tall the notch is. The notch is going to be 0.04. And let's add a dimension down here for how far away should the notch be from the edge. This is going to be 0.06. So you can see every time I add a dimension, everything kind of moves over to line up with what we told it. And then I think this is the last dimension we should need is this one. This one should be 0.12. Okay, so I think that looks pretty good. I think I've added all the dimensions that I need. So what would happen if I were to now add another dimension? Let's say I tried to add one here. Now it's coming up with this error and basically asking me, it's saying adding this dimension will make the sketch overdefined or unable to solve. So we could make this a driven dimension, meaning this dimension would be determined by the other dimensions that we already have. In reality, we don't need to add this dimension at all because this area is already defined, and you can see whatever is highlighted in yellow it basically means that this dimension would already be calculated by these, because 0.35 minus 0.12 minus 0.04 would equal 0.19. So that's already known without us adding that dimension. So I'm going to click cancel. I think my sketch is done, so I'm going to go ahead and exit the sketch and save my file. So now we're ready to revolve, and maybe you haven't been able to visualize yet how this is going to create the body of the chapstick. So let's see. I'm going to use the revolved boss base, and we need to choose an axis of revolution. So that axis is going to be this line over here. And now you can already see it coming together, right? The selected contours, it looks like it's already chosen it for us, which is the kind of basically the inner part of the only sketch that we have right now. So we don't even need to select that because we only have one sketch. And you may have noticed that our chapstick is not hollow. That's because we are making a very simplified version of this chapstick. So the only part that we made hollow was this top part. But in reality, we know that the actual body of the chapstick is hollow. So now let's make the cap. The cap, we will make it hollow. So we are going to draw on the right plane again to create this hollow cap. And let's use this line this time. So I want a line that is going to intersect basically with this plane and this plane. I don't know if it's going to give me, oh, we can see if I click here, even though the plane is not dragged up to where I'm at, it is still turning orange. So I can click there and I know, now I see that dotted line kind of going down to that plane. So that's great. And then over here, I'm just going to click anywhere and I will fix this part later. So I'm going to click anywhere that's horizontal. You can see right now I have like basically a yellow rectangle showing up. On the left of the yellow rectangle, we see the coincidence symbol, and on the right, there's a horizontal symbol. So if I were to put my mouse up here, those both go away, or down here. But as long as I'm on this horizontal line, I'll get that symbol, which is what I want. And you can always add that later also. I'll show you how to do that. So let's say this one, I want it to be perpendicular to the line I just drew. It would be if I clicked here along the dotted line where the vertical symbol is. But if I click out here by accident, I can still fix this by clicking on this line. And then these options show up over here and over here on the left to add the relations. Now they've disappeared here, but they're still over here. So I can click vertical and it will make my line like snap to vertical. If I wanted to delete the relation, I could click here and then hit the delete key or right click on it and choose delete. But I don't need to do that because I do want that relation. Okay, now down here, I'm going to run into a problem because I want this to be aligned with the edge of my chapstick that I've built so far. But this isn't really a selectable edge because it's a big round side and that's not going to make sense. So instead, I am going to click this little arrow to drop down what's absorbed underneath Revolve 1. And what it is the sketch that we just drew. I'm going to click on this sketch and click show. So now you can see, it's kind of hard to see because it's also gray, but now our sketch is showing. So now I could click this line, hold down the control key and click this line, and then I can choose this to make them collinear. And you can see what happened is my line jumped way over there to be collinear with this one from the earlier sketch that we did. And that looks good, so I'm going to click this check. So let's use this navigation to look from the right again and have everything straight on. Okay, so our cap is coming along, but all we've done so far is drawn 2 lines. So the top edge of the cap is very curved. Let's use a sketch fillet to make that. So I'm going to click this corner and get the sketch fillet. The sketch fillet that I want, 0.1 is fine for this, so I'm going to click check. So now I have this curved edge, but I don't have something that I can use for a revolve right now. Let me show you. You don't have to exit the sketch, but I'm going to exit the sketch. And I'm going to try to revolve. So axis of revolution, I don't have a line over here right now. I don't have an axis over here. So I would need to create something if I wanted to do a revolve with this. So we need more. We need kind of a close contour. It's also offering me the option to do a thin feature, but that's not what I want to do right now. So I'm going to go back and edit my sketch again. I right-clicked on the sketch and I'm clicking Edit Sketch. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to use this Offset Entities tool, which the logo for that tool kind of shows you what it's going to do. It's going to make a line parallel to what you had, but at an offset. I'm going to click here. And as soon as I did that, we see this yellow preview of what's going to happen. The offset parameter is 0.1. That's too big for what we want. That's thicker than our cap is. Our cap is more like 0.04 inches thick. So now when I did that, you see the offset moved closer and it kind of looks more like the profile of our cap. What could happen is we could offset on the other side by clicking reverse. That's not what we're doing in this case, but later down the road you might need that. I'm going to click check. So now we have this kind of inner part of our chapstick cap. We can see that it's not quite touching that, which is good for our cases, although it may actually interfere and stretch in real life, but we're just doing a simple mock-up right now. Okay, now we want this line, and we're going to close each side of our sketch basically by going from this dot here to this dot. You can see really tiny, the dot is showing up orange as I hover over it to click on it. And I'm going to do the same thing down here. Okay, now I'm going to right click and get out of my pencil. And I could exit the sketch now, or a shortcut I can do is I can just click on features, click on revolved boss base. And now for my axis of revolution, I can choose this little line. And we can see I've already got a preview of my entire cap for the chapstick. What I want to do is uncheck this box to merge result because the cap is a separate part from the body of the chapstick, right? We do not want it to be fused onto the rest of the chapstick. So uncheck the merge result box and click check. Now over here in our solid bodies folder, we can see we have two solid bodies. One was the first part we made, and two was our cap. So I'm going to go ahead and save. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make another sketch for this scroll wheel. So now we're at the scroll wheel. This sketch is going to be down here on this top plane. And you can see the view automatically switched me to viewing it from the top, but I want to view it from the bottom. So I'm going to click this view orientation and look from underneath. I'm going to use a circle for this sketch. So I'm clicking the circle tool. I'm going to aim to click in the very center because I want my circle to be lined up with everything else. And then I'm going to click, really I can click anywhere now. The one place I wouldn't want to click is lined up with this outer circle when it turns orange, because that's going to lock my circle right there, which I could always delete that relation, but I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to click a little bit in from there. Now I'm going to dimension my circle. So the dimension that it's giving me is not exactly what I want. I want 0.55 as my diameter. And then I want this one to be an extruded boss base. And this is going to go up to surface, and this plane is what I'll use, the scroll wheel height. I again do not want to merge result. So I'm going to click the checkbox. And now I have the beginning of my scroll wheel. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a cutout on the bottom. So I'm going to sketch on the top plane again. I'm again going to flip my view over to look from the bottom. I'm going to use this polygon tool because I know you couldn't see because my camera was too washed out, but it's actually a 12-sided polygon is the shape of the inner hole at the bottom of my chapstick. So I'm going to use this polygon tool. I'm going to click here where it's the center. Oh, I shouldn't have done that yet. So I'm clicking escape. I want to tell it to have 12 sides before I start. And now I'm clicking here, and I'm going to click out here, not overlapping with my circle, just in a little bit. And I don't think I'm really measured the dimension here, so I'm just going to eyeball it just for now. It should look about like that, and then I'm going to click check. Now I'm going to use this to make an extruded cut. So you can see right now it's using blind as the direction, and it's cutting down into midair, which is going to cut nothing. So I need to click this arrow to reverse it, and maybe you don't need to do that if yours was already pointing the right direction, but we want the arrow to be pointing up into the body of the chapstick. And then the depth we want to 0.08. Okay. Okay, so now you can see we kind of made this this inner hole that looks like how my chapstick looks. But the last thing we need to do on this base part is we need to add the little ridges around the edge. So technically we could draw a sketch and make a pattern inside the sketch that looked like all the ridges, but I don't want to do that. I just want to draw one ridge and then turn it all 3D and see how it looks without having to edit an entire patterned sketch. So I'm going to sketch on this top plane again, and I'm just going to sketch one ridge. Let's look from the bottom again. My ridge is going to be shaped like an ellipse. I'm going to draw it down here. So the ellipse is going to give me, okay, so the view might get confusing right here. This part, this inner area, is the edge that I want to attach to. This part is the body of the actual chapstick. So I don't want my ridge to be hovering in midair. I want it to be overlapping with this because I'm going to merge it onto there later. So we can just make it, we want it to be aligned with this line, that's fine. And then I'm going to get horizontal and click. And then here I will click, I don't see if it's giving me the relation. It's not. So I'm just going to click right here, like away from that vertical line. And then, oh, that's because it was already defined that way. Never mind. Doesn't matter where you click. So right click, get to select. Let's see about the dimensions of this. I'm going to smart dimension here to here. Let's see, mine is at 0.05. We'll just make that actually 0.05. And then this vertical one, here to here, let's see, 0.04 should be fine. And then I'm going to get out of the smart dimension. I'm going to drag it down a little bit. Oh, okay, so it's not letting me drag it because it was coincident with this inner ridge. I think that I'm fine with it like that, but if you wanted to drag it down, you could click this, delete it, and then you could drag it down. Oh, it's still coincident with something else, or it has a distant relation. Okay. I see, it's because of where this one is coincident. I think this one is coincident with kind of this midpoint. So that's not a problem. Let's just leave it as 0.4 like we had it, or 0.04. And yours should work as long as we just don't want it overlapping into this area here, but we do want it overlapping with this area here that's kind of highlighting in orange. So I'm going to exit that sketch. I'm going to extrude. So now you might get a better view of what's going on. We are not, yeah, we can extrude up to surface again. We can go to the scroll wheel height And we do not want to merge result, because if we do that, we won't be able to use this body for a pattern. So I'm unchecking the merge result, but I have a preview of what's happening. It's going to be the same height as the rest of the scroll wheel. Now let's create a radial or a circular pattern. So I'm going to click this arrow under linear pattern and click circular pattern. For the direction, we can really choose any circle that's going on here. So either this one or this one or this one, any of them will be okay because they're all concentric. I'm going to click that one. So I already had the number 26 appearing right here. You probably don't. So you are going to want to type in a 26 right there. Or if 26 is not a good number for you because of how, like if these yellow circles are overlapping, maybe you want fewer than 26. Really doesn't matter. Just get a pattern that you like going right there where these are not overlapping with one another. Like if they were overlapping, it would look like this. I don't think that's going to look good. So I'm going to keep mine as 26. Another thing that might be happening is maybe you can't see the preview. If you want to click these, toggle those to get your preview of the yellow. And then, okay, I think the features would work. I normally prefer to use the bodies instead. So I'm going to use the bodies and I'm going to make sure that we're getting this body, Boss Extrude 2. I'm going to click check. Now we can see in my solid bodies folder that there's tons of different little bodies, but that's not what I want. I want those all to be one scroll wheel. So I'm going to use a combine. And I just found the combine by searching in the search bar, but there is another place where it's located. I just don't have it easily accessible right now. The bodies to combine, what I could do is I could click this and then I could go around the circle and click each of these. And you can do that if you want to, but then you're going to have to click tons of times. So instead I'm going to delete all those. I'm just going to click with my mouse out here to the left, drag over all of them and let go. And you can see that it automatically selected them all. And now they're all blue right here showing that they're selected. So that was faster. I'm going to click OK. So now that is done. And it's just, now you can see solid bodies. We have 3. The first revolve we did, the second, which was the cap, and the third, which was the combine. I'm going to save again. I'm also going to hide this sketch now because it's kind of ugly. And the last thing I'm going to do is make a chapstick inside. So I'm going to view from the right. Let's say I wanted to look inside my model. One way I can do that is by clicking section view. So right now it's not showing me exactly where I want to look, but if I click over here, I can get the right plane section view, and that looks great. That's showing me the inside of my model. So what I can see in here is this empty space that I made for my chapstick that I'm going to put, and the cap. So now we're going to put some chapstick inside here, but we don't want it to be extending outside of the cap, nor do we want it to be extending outside of this area. So the section view is a way that we can see what we're doing. I'm going to make a sketch on the right plane, and I'm going to use this rectangle again to make the chapstick. I'm going to start by clicking here and just estimate the chapstick. This is just more of an art than a science right now. We're just drawing a chapstick. So click there. You don't want to click past this, but get kind of close. I'm going to get back to the select. You can also drag it after you've clicked it to put it just inside there. That's good. Then I'm going to add a sketch fillet right here. That's a little big. I'm going to make it 0.05, but you can do whatever you want. Maybe a little bigger, 0.07 or something. That's good. And then the important thing to note is that this line should be aligned right here on this line. So we should see like 2 coincidence right there. If you don't see that, then you need to click one, hold Control, click the other, and then choose coincident. So now let's go to features, revolved, boss base, the axis of revolution. You can click right here and then uncheck merge results so we don't have our chapstick merged in with the plastic base. We're going to click check. So we're still in section view. We're still just seeing a half of everything. We can get out of section view. And what we can do now, we could click here to hide all our planes. We can right click on this and get the eye to hide the cap. And then we can see we have our little chapstick inside of the plastic. And then the last thing we can do is add some colors. So I'll show you how to do that. I am going to, there's multiple ways to do it. So we can click this appearances tool. Let's delete that. Oh, that might not work. Okay, I don't want to do it that way actually. I'm just going to do it as individual bodies. So I am going to show the cap again over here. I'm going to right click on the cap and I'm going to click on this arrow by appearances and choose body because I know the cap is a separate body. So I'm going to make the cap white. You can make your cap whatever color you want. And I want the cap to match the scroll wheels. So I'm going to click the scroll wheel and now that is also going to be white. And I'm going to click check. Then I'm going to right click on this center part. I'm going to click the drop down and get body again. I'm going to make the body of my chapstick blue, kind of like the classic chapstick, but you can choose a different color if you want. Click check. Now I'm going to hide the cap again by right clicking and clicking hide. And then I just want to make my chapstick a color. So I'm right clicking on the chapstick, appearances, body. And my chapstick is going to be like strawberry flavor. That's good. That'll be good. Okay. But you can make yours whatever you want. Click OK. Okay, so now I have my chapstick. I can put the cap on and off, whatever I want to show. And we are done.